everyone, welcome to another video for AssignmentsWithStamp.com. Today I'm starting with some white cardstock and I'm going to be using 3 different colors of distress inks. The first color I'm using is Mowed Lawn and I'm going to be bringing it in from one edge of this white cardstock with a blending tool. I'm just bringing it in really lightly from the edge. When you're using a blending tool, you want to remember to keep a really light touch and start kind of bringing in circles off of the paper. And I'm using a craft sheet to protect my work surface, and it's also a slick surface, so it makes it easier for this blending tool technique. I'm using peacock feathers now, and I'm going to bring that down the center of the cardstock here because I'm going to be bringing a third color in on the other side. So I'm bringing it mostly down the center, and this one's a little more tricky because you have to bring it down the shorter side, but it totally can be done. You can also start a little bit into the green when you start pulling in the color. The third color I'm using is Salty Ocean. I'm bringing that in from the side as well, and this just is a really fun gradient, pulling all 3 colors together. I also use my blending tool to kind of smudge the colors. I'm going to be embossing on top of this, so I want to make sure this distress ink is completely dry. Distress inks take a little bit longer to dry than other dye inks, even though it is a dye-based ink. So you do have to do a little bit of drying with your heat tool, or as I'm going to show you here in a minute, I also used my EK Success powder tool to really dry up all that excess moisture from the ink. So I liberally use this EK Success powder tool, added tons of powder to get it really dry so that I could do some stamping. In order to do the stamping, I wanted to make sure that the embossing powder wasn't going to stick, so I did a little test run with no stamping, and it looked like the embossing powder came off just fine. So the stamp set I'm using today is from the January card kit. The stamp set is called Very Special, and I've mounted the kind of flourish piece and the large Your Very Special stamp on my stamp press, and I've loaded it up with some Versamark ink, and I'm going to be really careful as I stamp this because I really only have one shot. I don't want to have to redo that whole blending piece again. So I'm really pressing down on the stamp press, making sure every single area is transferred onto the cardstock, and then lifting up. You can't really tell too much right now if I did a good job stamping or not, but once I apply the embossing powder, you'll be able to tell. So I'm sprinkling that on and shaking off the excess, tapping it with my finger on the back side, trying to make sure everything's off of the areas where I didn't stamp. It looks like it did pretty good. I also used a little dry paintbrush to kind of pull off any areas that still had some embossing powder. After heat setting it, I actually trimmed it down just a little bit so that it would fit on the front of a card a little bit better. Not by much, just a little tiny bit on the edges. And I also took some navy cardstock that comes in the kit, in the January card kit, and cut that down to a standard size card. This Your Very Special piece is going to go straight onto the front of the card. So I'm going to be using a little bit of adhesive to glue that area down. The adhesive I'm using today is the Tombow Stamp Runner. It's a really nice adhesive. And just place that straight down onto the navy cardstock. So in order to make this area look a little bit more finished, I decided to take a white gel pen and a T-square ruler and just draw a border around the area about 1/2 inch, or well, maybe 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. In order to get a really smooth line with a white gel pen, you'll notice I'm sort of twisting the pen as I kind of do sketchy lines all along the edge of the ruler. That's why you want to use a ruler. It's going to help keep it straight while you're kind of twisting and kind of sketching with the pen. Here's one more time. You notice I use short strokes as I start to apply. Just short little strokes. It's going to help get the ink coming down through the pen. White gel pens, even though this one is a spectacular gel pen, and I highly recommend it. This is the Uniball Signal Broad. Even though it is a spectacular white gel pen, you do have to use it a little bit differently than you would a marker or a pen because the ink is very thick. So I filled in those corners, made sure everything looked really nice. And that is the card for today. A super simple card, but there actually was quite a bit of technique involved with the ink blending and embossing. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.